turn, we put the book back together.
Next time,
Alright.
so you'll see him, just look down for Maple. They look like Frank.
Welcome to the January 27th Conservation Commission meeting. We have no public, so no public comment, no public hearings, no appointments. So we'll start with statutory advisory business. And we have an application from Doreen. I'm gonna skip saying your last name because I'll.
Just how it sounds.
Okay.
Do you want to name somebody to sit in for Cindy?
Yes, we should. And it was both of you last time,
Yeah,
and the time before it was.
it was just me.
Just you. So, Mike, would you mind for sitting for Cindy? Okay.
You own that street.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gina. All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Good evening. My name is Andy Perlman. I'm an attorney with Pernier and Perlman in Nashua. And with me at the table is Doreen Wynot, owner of Animal Care Center of New Hampshire. Doreen is looking to build on her existing pet sitting business by opening a daycare and boarding facility. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. Most of what I have is may not be germane to Concom issues, but I'll run you through the business. We have received planning board approval, conditional approval last week. I have 2 extra copies of the approval if you want it. And one of the conditions of approval is that we have to take into consideration any comments coming from this commission. The Doggy Daycare is going to be housed in a 6,600 square foot facility on a site just under an acre. And we're really doing very little to the outside, except for the rear fenced-in play area for the daycare dogs. And what we're doing there is we're fencing in a 3,800 square foot area in the back parking lot. I believe you all have plans to show that. DPW called out. They had some concerns about that. I'm not sure if you have the memo from Don Tuomola, if I'm saying that correctly.
Don T is fine.
Don T, much better.
I know who it is.
Don T was concerned about the stormwater runoff, and specifically she has requested that there's a catch basin toward the back corner of the property that outlets, both infiltrates underneath the parking lot, and then there's an overflow outlet that outlets to the very northeast corner of the property. And what we're doing there is she has asked us to cap that catch basin to make it a solid cover, and then have some type of drainage structure. And we have Granite Engineering taking a look at that. They are going to be designing what amounts to be a fancy septic system, likely underneath the turf that's going to be in the back play area. And that's in the works, but that is part of our planning board approvals. We had to address Don T's concerns for that runoff issue. The Doggy Daycare is going to run. There are 2 components of it. The Doggy Daycare will run Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. The boarding is 24/7. We'll have 5 employees at the site, and the site like Doreen runs her business now, it's mostly online driven, online registration. Staff knows what time people are coming, what time people are gonna be picking up. So it's very efficient in that regard. The first floor will be the boarding of the dogs, and the lower level in a series of 7 pens will be the daycare facility for the dogs. The dogs, over the course of the day, are herded out through a garage door in the back of the property, out to the play area, and then to exhaust the dogs and to otherwise distract them. Doreen has events over the day, and I said, what are the events, Doreen? She said, well, we have Bubble Day.
Chase bubbles.
And they chase the bubbles, and 15 minutes of chasing bubbles, they're all wiped out. Right, so it's good.
Does that work with kids?
Sometimes, yeah.
Let's see what else. The daycare down in the lower level. The pens are separated by 4-foot-high solid fences. They're solid, so other dogs can't see other dogs outside of their group. And 4 feet, so you can see over them. You can check in on the dogs. There'll be an animal prep area, which is really just washing and brushing, not much more than that. There's this very small retail area in the front, where all the couches and living room furniture are now up front. Town water and sewer. We may have to dig up the road a little bit to install a larger water line coming in from the street to accommodate additional fire suppression. The fire department wants.
No, I'm actually with the Republican Town Committee in this room at 7 o'clock in the morning. You guys are running longer than that.
Oh, no, we're going to be here for a while. Are you sure you're not in a different room?
Maybe probably upstairs then, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Getting back to the fenced-in area out back, there will be a locked gate. They're kind of a wide, like an 8-foot or 12-foot, whatever the fire department wants, like a 12-foot probably, to allow vehicles, emergency vehicles, to get in there if necessary. It also allows for the dumpster that will be inside the gated area, small dumpster, probably about the size of this table, on wheels, and wheel out and be taken off-site, not off-site, but dumped out and put back. There's a continuous dog feces cleanup so it doesn't spread, it doesn't infect other dogs, and so the staff are continuously picking up as they go. And then the site, both indoor and outdoor, is cleaned with disinfectants with a product called, I can't say it.
Wicey wash.
Wicey Wash. Wicey Wash. And I have a couple, I can pass, I didn't bring enough. I have a couple flyers online with this Wicey Wash stuff is. You can feel free to take a look. It's environmentally happy, and it does the trick. It's used in many kennels programs like this.
I think we can share
And
one.
again, it's both indoors and outdoors. We have the drainage system out back as well. We expect, or we have approval from the planning board for 120 animals on site at any one time. That roughly breaks down 60 boarding, 60 daycare. Again, those numbers will fluctuate. We have a February vacation coming up soon. You know, the boarding numbers go up and the daycare go down, and vice versa. But it's split roughly 60 and 60. And I think that's it, Mr. Chairman. We're happy to answer any questions. We don't. We believe that with DPW's comments and what Gradient Engineering is going to be designing and the installers to do the pavement system properly, we're going to address any concerns that you folks may have. But we're happy to answer questions, hear you out, and take your comments forward.
Is the fenced-in area, is that going to remain paved, or is that
No.
pavement being ripped up?
The pavement's coming out, and it's going to be like compacted, certain types of dirt, and then a turf material, like a fake turf material over it.
And the dog feces, where they go after the cleanup?
Dumpster.
In a dumpster? What's that?
It has to be bagged and dumped.
Is that what the dumpster inside, so, is that what the dumpster inside the area is gonna be, is that for the,
Yes.
that's dumped regularly, daily, is it?
Well, it'll be as necessary, it'll be at least 2 times a week, you know, as needed.
So the turf that you're putting down, you mentioned septic system. Is it septic system? Is it more of like a leach field?
A leach field is a better, it's the leaching field of a septic system.
Okay,
right?
so
That's a
no
better
tank?
description. No.
No storage?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Right.
So it's more of like a sand and just a filtration. 'Cause-
Yeah, I forget what they call it, the catch basins lead to a big sump thing, right?
Separator, yeah.
It's not- It'll be similar to that. That's
Okay.
how it's been described to me. And then leaching out from there. They have not come up with a design, but that's how it's been described to me.
Okay, and this is a condition for the planning board that they need this before you continue
Yes.
with them? Okay.
This is an artificial turf designed to be permeable, and then you have the soils you're bringing in to replace the pavement you're going to tear up so that it will filter down before it enters the aquifer.
My understanding is, based upon the conditions and the grade coming off of Star and coming off of Daniel website, is that most of that back parking lot is all fill anyway, today. And so whatever material we're gonna bring in it'll be suitable, similar to a leach field,
So sand primarily.
whatever, like,
Well, you said
Whatever it is.
it's gonna be a compacted surface?
well,
You're taking up the pavement, you're gonna be able to compact the surface?
right.
And is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
What is that going to be?
I'm just wondering,
Yeah, 'cause is
I'm
it gonna
trying
be-
to follow the waste. Where's it go?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, is that gonna infiltrate or is it gonna run off? I mean, what's the?
Oh, no, the plan is for it to infiltrate, which is just what Don T called
Right.
out. We
Okay.
have the engineer. So Brent Cole of Granite Engineering spoke with her at length, and they've already come up with a design. I'm not an engineer on what they've come up with, but they told me she's gonna be satisfied the infiltration, what's coming.
So
And I don't know those details exactly.
this Wizzy wash is, I know obviously it says it's safe for everybody, I mean, that's gonna get washed now into the water, that same place where this water
Right.
infiltration's gonna go, that's an okay, that's,
It's EPA approved?
I'm sorry?
It's EPA approved.
Okay,
For outdoor use.
Outdoor and indoor.
okay.
And this isn't something that you're, every hour going and spraying the whole yard with. This is just when you do your cleaning.
I see the tiniest little piece of lawn. Is there one spot where you're planning on planting grass?
Well, let me get to my plan. Well, there's in between the parking lot and Daniel Webster Highway
Yeah,
is all grassed area,
okay,
all right? And then a little bit as you go down Star Drive, and then surrounding it, behind that, you can see there's like a guardrail fence on the parking lot. Behind that's all thick wooded vegetation,
okay.
what's there today. We're not touching that.
Okay, and then I see lumen seed behind there. The reason I'm asking is because I'm curious if you have plans for fertilizer. Okay,
Well, other than mowing the out front, no.
okay. So you're not gonna,
This plan
Yeah.
was for Lazy Boy.
Right.
oh,
So
It's
what's
an
that?
old
This is
plan.
this is the construction plan for Lazy Boy.
Yeah.
Right.
All that-
so they
that
just
loam
added
seed's
the
already been
vinyl,
done.
the vinyl plate, okay,
It's
all
already
right,
been done.
all right,
That's thick tree, it's grown in.
okay,
Completely filled in, and we're not gonna touch that.
all right,
That's a good buffer from the propane tanks down the road. down the
okay.
hill.
Are there any internal drains or anything in the building, or is that gonna be altered, or?
No, I don't think so. That has not been called out by town staff or our contractor at all.
Okay.
What about runoff from the roof? I don't know if the parking lot was originally designed, it certainly slopes to the northeast, so if you tear that up and you fence it off, what's gonna be the outcome of the parking lot runoff now?
From my being on site a couple times and my read of the plans, and again, I'm not an engineer, but I've been around these long enough to figure these things out. Everything seems to drain down to that rear catch basin in the northeast corner of the parking lot, behind the building. So our engineers are gonna have to account for the roof shed and the asphalt in the parking lot, because it is all one big, from the top of the parking lot all the way back down, that catches it all.
But you're not changing the building at all?
No.
And the only thing you're doing here is you're removing impervious surface?
Right.
Because the vinyl area is not gonna be covered?
No.
It's gonna be open to the outdoors?
Yes.
So they're doing nothing but increasing runoff, or increasing,
Infiltration.
Well, but they're gonna add material, right, which may
Yeah, they're taking up
hump up, right? And then everything from the driveway that was going to that corner may get
Yeah.
diverted before it gets there now.
I think what you're putting there is going to be as level as possible
Yeah.
and very, very it's going to infiltrate. So I think that by design of something that's leach field / septic-y
Yeah.
and a turf.
Well, that's the plan, and honestly, talking with our engineers, he said that this is not a hard one, that this is a straightforward
Yeah,
design
this
that they
is-
can come up with.
So you said there's not a lot of weekend traffic? It's not gonna be designed for a weekend?
No, there will be dogs boarding there,
Right.
and the staff of one, and then a little bit of turnover over the weekend, but not a lot of activity.
That's a pretty industrial area anyways,
And what about the training? I know there was something mentioned in the plan about training, dog training.
Training is done indoors for safety purposes, and the trainees are the actual humans being trained, more so than the dogs. And do you want to speak more to the training, and how much are you going to be doing?
It will most likely be after, daycare hours, after people get out of work, around 7, or it could be on a Saturday, but again, it's not going to be, a lot of people, because you wanna have at least, I would say maybe 10 owners with their dogs. You don't wanna have a huge, group, because then it just gets too confusing for the dogs as well as the owners.
Okay, so that's where your maximum parking would be 10 people at a time for training, probably, because ones and twos come and drop their dogs off, but you're not
Quickly,
gonna have a, yeah, okay.
Question, for snow and ice mitigation, what are you guys gonna use for coating the lots after you plow them?
Whatever the contractor recommends. Saying, and then you tell us if there's something you don't want us to use.
I think something eco-friendly.
Yeah.
More like it only on the grounds of, the town's really focusing a lot now on, salt affecting the water tables now, so, and I know that we've discussed it with other new business owners to,
Yeah.
we'd like to see, everybody use something to that effect, something eco-friendly.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, if you,
For the dog paws too.
exactly, if you saw in the town's recommendation, we have, it's called Green Snow Pro certification.
Yeah.
So when you
Familiar with that.
find an applicator, or you find somebody that's gonna do the lot for you, just look for somebody who's Green
Yep.
Snow Pro certified.
I'm doing a bus station in Seabrook right now, and they're so proud of their certifications and plowing and how they're environmentally friendly. So brought up to speed on it, so,
That's good, because, I mean, you have a level lot,
yeah.
except, that one area, I think, in the side slopes down. So it shouldn't be that difficult, because I'm guessing most of your people are going to park in the front.
Yeah. Anything else?
Storage. So you're gonna be doing grooming and storage products, are gonna be large volumes, small volumes?
The retail component?
Well, the retail component, but just what you're washing down the drain too, I mean, the soaps and that's all going in town sewer?
Yes.
That's not gonna be any part outside, that's
No,
not?
no, no.
Okay, so that's all
It's
town
all
sewer, so it's all treated water?
Town water and sewer.
Yeah. That's awful.
So,
Yeah.
so really the only thing in the letter is the green snow probe? Okay,
Yeah,
Okay.
and whatever comments the town has, I mean,
okay, so I'll get that letter typed up and get that to you tomorrow.
Great.
great.
Any more questions for us?
We're good.
Good? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Yeah, good luck.
Fingers crossed.
This thing is so loud.
Thanks, folks. Have a good night.
Thank
good
you,
night.
bye-bye.
Set up to go to work every day. So something that Mark said there.
All right.
Okay,
Did you keep a copy of
I
that?
did, yes.
Did anybody want to see it?
The next piece of business we have is the MCC Parcel Acquisition process. So, Tim, thank you.
You want me already?
Or do you want, I can come back.
Yeah, I need to set up.
Okay, sure. We'll jump next to the New Hampshire Fishing Game Operation Land Share / Landowner Relations Program. I believe this came up from the conversation last time. Do you have more on this, Mike?
No, I was just going to mention, I saw it on the website. Maybe
Okay.
Ask them about it and whether or not the program was available to municipalities.
So this was the signage and
Signs, you have free
communication.
signs, you have to agree to allow the majority of a certain parcel to be open to hunting, and then in return, they'll give you these free signs if they apply. Safety zone, there's a variety here, you guys can
Is
see.
majority defined anywhere?
I think it's over 51, it's a literal majority, yeah.
Which for most of our properties, we already by default qualify.
Right. Yeah. I mean, certainly this came up in the context of BD Lane, and thinking about, they have these sort of ready-made safety zone signs that we could get free of charge, if we wanted to go that route. They also have this multi-use recreation area sign that could apply. That's, people who show up for the first time know to be cautious, wear their orange and such. And really, we could use that in all of our properties, except those that don't allow hunting, obviously.
Looks, there's that sign right there, the safety zone sign.
Yeah.
Looks almost like exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, I see a lot of these signs applying to our properties.
Sure.
There's a 603 contact number, or do you think we should do it by filling out the?
Well, we can fill it out, or I can call Commissioner Green and ask him if he can pick some up for me, but, I mean, I can just fill this out and
Is-
request it.
Is there some quantity limit per property or anything like that?
I don't believe this flyer specifies. I'm sure it just matters for the size acreage, you know, whatever is applicable. If you were gonna be doing 1,000 acres, then obviously they're gonna be giving you a lot of free signs, you know. I would guess a dozen or two would be more than sufficient for that area, maybe. Maybe you have to walk it to determine that for sure, but
We're talking about up at the
cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac. Okay. Now, I'm reading here, it says they agree to leave the majority of the property open to hunting, especially in that area. I certainly have no problem with that. I guess, I'm curious, and I don't know off the top of my head, now, is that talking about, are they looking at the entire amount of property overseen by the commission, or are they looking at Greater Woods in that area, and they take that acreage and say, you guys must have X amount of acres just on that parcel? We just go, is it going by parcel or by all our properties?
I would think we'd have to go by parcel, because
Yeah.
if they're not connected.
That's my guess.
I mean, you can't say that, you know, there's hunting not a lot, you know, it's just by parcel. And even to your point, Greater Woods, I don't think that, yeah, I think we should put an MCC meeting in progress like that. You know, Greater Woods is made up of multiple parcels, but to us, it's a contiguous piece, so I would count that as, you know, here's our boundary, it's X number of acres, we're gonna put signs here. You know, I think if we try to get into it too deep in this parcels and stuff like that, we're getting ourselves in trouble.
So I guess this goes to my question of then, none of us here may have it right off the top of our head, but how much acreage are we looking at? And how much acreage do we wanna leave open, and how much do we wanna close off?
I mean, the lion's share would remain open if
Yeah.
we were just focused
Min-
on around that end of the pond.
Right.
It's a large parcel.
It's minimal.
You're talking maybe an acre, there's only 800 out there.
And there is a reason for asking this, because I've been approached by a few citizens in town who have been following the meetings and, you know, hearing the discussion, and their concern is that we might consider trying to close off the entire area to hunting, which I said, I don't see that happening. This commission, you know, it doesn't strike me as going in that direction. So that's where that's coming from, that there are some people that are concerned.
Yeah, it's minimal.
Yeah, I mean, in that particular case, if you're going by parcel, what is it, 500, 600 acres for Greater Woods? And I can't imagine
What?
that acreage that you'd want to close off at that end of the pond being more than
Yeah.
8 to 10 acres tops.
if
That's,
that.
if that, yeah.
And I think,
That's a fraction.
and I think that I think we need to educate the public so that we can avoid headaches going down the road. Maybe legal fights and so forth.
Yeah, and I think if you watch the meeting when the Fish and Game was here, the last meeting, we tried to do a really good job of drawing that conversation out with them, and they were very helpful in giving the public a lot of education and giving us a lot of, you know, this has happened in other towns and this has happened here and there. So they did a really good job of educating us and offering assistance with not only the hunting, but also OHRV and, you know, everything that they enforce. They extended an offer.
I reviewed the minutes and watched the video.
Yeah.
That was great.
It was, and there were members of public here that had those concerns, and I think through the conversation they left very happy with the, you know, the
And I'm just saying, I mean, from my experiences, you know, getting out in front and publicly educating, getting on top of it is huge, and I'm sure everybody here would agree with that based on your
I don't think anyone can go back and look at any of the meetings we've had and come to the conclusion, if they watch the whole meeting and listen to where things that we would, at any point, we're trying to get rid of hunting. That has not been our focus at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we've curtailed target shooting in town, and specifically, you know, specifying target shooting without impacting hunting. We're looking, you know, this conversation for BB Lane itself has gone on now for a while. Specifically because we don't wanna stop,
Yep.
we're not trying to outlaw hunting or make it seem like we are, so.
Yeah, and the folks I spoke with, I assured them of the same, because I'm on board here, that there is a problem area that we need to address, so.
You're good, Tim.
He's spelunking.
It's the pleasure of being an alternate.
Puppet show's coming.
Yeah. Does it go any higher?
That's one way not to get on camera.
We got this.
Never mind the man behind the screen.
Well, Tim, you'll be happy to know that they budgeted for audio
That's good,
visual
Tim.
equipment
Yeah.
like they have up in the Matthew Thorpe.
Okay, good.
Come on out, wizard.
Those are good yoga moves they got there.
Pay no attention.
So, Gina
Yes,
has offered to,
yes. I just need to know
What?
how many of what do you want?
let's do this.
Let's do it.
The signs, what?
So the first sign,
Well,
So,
so what's gonna
not
be
su-
the area?
not sure if it's an issue, but the parcel that I believe you're planning on putting these is, actually owned by the town, or the commission. Do we need to, have a discussion with the town manager or something else to let them know what we're doing?
I think we need to have, I'd rather go to them or go to them with a plan.
before we get this,
Yeah,
before we even
yeah.
ask for the signs?
I think so. I think it's not our, we manage it for them.
Okay.
It's not owned by us. So-
But we manage it.
Yes.
But
I think
I would agree, I agree with Tim.
this is a little different level of just putting another trail on it. We're about to do something that has some legal implications, and I think that perhaps we should make them aware of it prior to just going and posting it and saying, okay, guess what?
Do we need to go to the, do any of us need to go to a town council meeting to present this?
I just, maybe Matt shoot an email to the town manager saying, this is what we're looking at doing. Do we need to go before you, or can I get your blessing? She may say a presentation to the town council might be needed, only because something brief so that the town councilors are all aware what the spirit of these signs are and why they're going up. Because I could imagine if I've heard some
Yeah.
questions that they're going to as well, so.
You know,
Want me
make
to
them
put
aware
together
of
a
the
memo
minutes of our
and send it
meeting.
out to you to read?
Sure.
So you know, people are gonna hear what they want.
Yeah.
You all want hunting? No.
Exactly, and if I can imagine my fellow councilors, if they're not filled in on this,
Right.
next thing you know, they're gonna be picking up the phone, calling the town manager, saying, why don't I know about this? This is town property. So that's why I think it's a good idea.
Okay. So we'll maybe table this, sign
Well,
request till the next meeting?
Well, what do we have our plan? How much for that space?
Would these go like along the trails that lead into the housing area?
I'm thinking roughly where the
Drilled rock.
markers are.
Oh, that's it. We had discussed before maybe going all the way to where drilled rock veers off. And then maybe a similar distance in the other direction, maybe.
Yeah.
Because you brought up the best point is, now if we're forcing people to the other side of the pond, now they're gonna be firing
Right.
towards the homes.
Yeah.
But right now, they're, with their back, they're loud, but their backs are to the homes and they're, firing across the woods.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I don't think it's gonna make much of a difference if they're gonna be shooting on that side of the pond. I've seen a hunter on the other side before. You know. I don't know. I think it's gonna be minimal impact, you know.
Which one of these signs was it that we thought was best suited?
For the BB lane situation,
Mhm.
I think maybe that safety zone, right?
OLS 002?
The one thing that resonated for me from listening to the meeting and reading the minutes was that the lieutenant said that he would have the area conservation officer help us. And so
Yep.
I'm thinking, get ahead of it next fall, prepare for duck hunting season. and ask him if he'll focus a lot of attention up there for the duck hunting season. Educate.
And we did also talk about having him come out maybe in September and meet with the entire neighborhood. We could sort of like we did meet in the cul-de-sac like we did it, you know, in October, and just say, or November, I think we met in November, just, you know, before hunting season, and say, here's what to expect, you know, here's what, you know, I want you to be as comfortable with what's gonna happen as you can be, and, you know, maybe with these signs, we can.
Now, I first learned the name of our conservation officer, McFadden.
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess maybe if he wants to come in at some point just to chat with us, I'd love to, you know, because he's the guy that's covering our jurisdiction, so.
Well, we talked about,
I did reach out to him.
Yeah.
I've been in contact with him. I shared with him some of the details that, you know, that we talked to, and I think Commissioner Green and Lieutenant Boudreau probably gave him the same information. He, you know, I made him aware. I took some pictures of Scalar and some of the off-road vehicle damage down there, pictures of the boulders that had been moved, and showed him, you know, some pictures of all, you know, how aggressive we were in the signing. And I was thrilled to find out that that's been on. That wasn't news to him. He knew that that was a problem area. He actually said he was down there last fall and last spring and had issued citations. But he definitely was eager to do a ride along with us.
in the spring would be great, probably.
I told him, I said, I thought you might have been out of town for a couple days. I said you would be a resident expert of where the most impacted areas are. So he's eager to schedule something, a ride along or.
It's pretty easy just to walk down there.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
See what's
mean,
going
we all know. We're mo-
Yeah, I will say I've been very surprised. I've been down there quite a bit lately, and there's nobody doing anything wrong that I can see in the snow.
No, I went right
So-
down after our meeting, and I looked pretty long and hard to find some recent damage that I could show him, and I didn't see evidence of that, but,
That's good. I mean, we'll see how it goes in the warmer weather
Yeah,
comes.
once it gets muddy.
I see there's illegal dumping
That's another
sign
sign
too.
we could use, yeah.
Yeah, there are several signs on here that really do the trick. I can't read the fine print. I'm sure if you go onto the website, you could probably get a little bit
I
clearer.
can send you the website.
Yeah.
And back to Pete's question too, I did make a commitment to him that anytime after any of our meetings, if there's topics that we thought would be of interest to Fish and Game, that I would make sure we made him aware of that. I told him I would pass, you know, I won't send him all the minutes, but, you know, any savory topics that do come up, I'll make sure he's aware of them.
Great.
Actually, I'll send the website to everybody so everybody can read the signs a little closer.
Yeah, you
Yep.
can see the colors then too, because they're in color on the website.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just do a little bit of a research, and I'll reach out to Eileen and take a look at them online, and then next meeting we can sort of regroup on this issue and see if, you know, I don't think that we need to hang these signs anytime soon. Hunting season's over. But having it ready next summer so that people see them when they're out there a lot in the summertime and get used to the signs being out there, I think would be a good thing, not just hang them the week before hunting season, and, you know, we don't want to do that. Let's do this, you know, a coordinated effort, but again, make sure the town manager is on board.
Maybe just to send that message, you know, even if we started small with something like the caution multi-use recreational area signs, you know, one of those at the entrance or the more popular trail entrances might just
The kiosk.
eliminate some of that shock. You know, God forbid this may during turkey season, if someone sees that activity going on there.
Yeah, many of our kiosks could use
Mhm.
that one.
Our maps kind of do a good job, and the other, not that one, but the other side of the map has the permitted uses on it, and I think that is a good, you know, it's sort of saying this is a multi-use area. All these uses are permitted, And hunting, for most of our properties, Horse Hill and Greater Woods, it is on there. So we kind of have that. This sign reinforces it, but I think the safety zone one is what this BB Lane area needs.
I agree.
That's what the neighbors are looking for, and it's good for that area, I think.
Gonna need to have an update to the map that shows the safety zone on it, because it's not just beyond this point, it's beyond this point to the water.
Yeah.
It goes around, so it's not like you enter and then you don't go any further, so. I like the sign, but you might wanna be careful, you might just wanna say part of a safety zone C map, and have an updated map on the kiosk.
Especially in that parking lot, yeah.
So, I mean, we can put it on the website, all that stuff, right?
So we should make that an agenda item for the next meeting, is map update after we've talked to Eileen and,
Yeah, after we get approval to go forward, yeah.
okay.
You know, I brought this up a couple times, and now I'm trying to think, did we approve, and I can never remember, those code symbols for the phones, approve doing those, put them up at the entrances to all our areas so people could just click
Oh,
on
the
their
QR
phone?
codes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, we do. I have, actually, we're gonna change right now. We're gonna modify the maps, but.
I'm just trying to think, I knew we discussed it about it, a few months ago, so.
Yeah, they're on all of,
Current maps,
all
but
of-
we don't have them separate on the kiosk, it says, but if you do pick
Yeah.
up a map, they're on the maps
Yeah.
already, yeah.
Will we put them on the kiosk? though?
We could, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think people will, that way, in this, especially this issue, if they can walk up, hit it and look right away, okay, there's the safety zone.
Yep.
I guess while we're at that, the school already has a safety zone around it.
Correct.
So we should
Well,
put it there as well.
yeah, that's the school. What's the federal, isn't that federal school?
No, it's not part of the gun law, that's just, they put up their own signs, right? Like
Yeah.
like the motorized signs?
Isn't that a federal
School,
school zone? You can't have,
I think it's,
or the state?
it's, the state's working on some stuff right now, but I think it's school district by school district. And most of them have, no weapons on the property. So,
Their boundary for no hunting is quite a bit bigger than just the school area.
Yeah.
It's like all the way past the soccer field and,
Yep.
That's their land, right?
All
yeah,
their
the
land.
30 some odd acres.
And it's their whole parcel.
So we should, if we're gonna call out one area, we should do it all.
It helps address, like you said, you saw hunters getting out at the school parking lot
Yep.
to go hunting that way, and said, no, going the other way. So
Yeah.
if you had like an overlay of like a red color or something over those little blocks, I could see that's a no-no there.
Yep. Okay, so just to recap, I'll reach out to Eileen. Everybody will take a look at the signs and we'll discuss a map update at the next meeting.
Matt, if you, I would just suggest when you talk to Eileen, maybe send her a little packet of information. So after you talk to her, she can kind of look at what we're talking about.
This,
So she'll.
the minutes to our
Yeah,
meeting with the
and
committee.
the zone, the area we're looking to set up the safety zone and stuff like that. And, cause she may just simply say, well, I'm gonna forward this packet now to all the counselors, so, might help.
That's a good
Okay.
idea.
Great. All right. Let's cover the Wildcat Falls Moonlight Snowshoe Walk.
Okay, I haven't done anything yet because we have no snow, so I don't really see any snow in the forecast. So I'm kind of waiting, usually I get the forecast 2 weeks out. So before we put out any information on it, I want to see if we're actually going to have some snow.
Snow, okay.
It's not looking good. Beaver
No.
Brook has one planned for the same night, only theirs was much cooler because they serve wine at the end. So. But you have to pay for it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I will be in touch with Chief Roy and Eileen Cabanel and the town council and let them know if it looks like it's going to happen. I'll let them know 2 weeks in advance.
Okay,
It's
great.
just, right now, the conditions are mud.
Nothing.
We've nothing. No, nothing.
I know the snowshoe walk is you draw, but is there any benefit to just turning into a moonlight walk?
Well, the problem is if there's no snow, the moonlight doesn't
Yeah,
bounce
it
off
doesn't.
mud, so you really can't see where you're going.
Right.
You need snow.
Yep, you're right.
I mean,
I was stupid, sorry.
no, it's not. It's if you had snow, even if you don't have that 8 inches of nice powder, you could still go out and you could still walk. But if you don't have any snow, you're gonna be tripping over branches and stuff, so, and rocks and, ritual circles that are left out.
I walk at night all the time.
Do you at night? So I'm just a weenie.
But you're out there for a little
Just
bit.
need a strong headlamp.
All right, so the next item is the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests. This is a annual item that we have.
It's late.
They're a good organization.
What have you done in the past? Have you read this?
No. I just read that part.
So, in the past, we have made a donation from the Conservation Commission budget to the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests. In 2018, it was $250. In 2019, it was $250.
So moved.
Yeah.
Sorry. You need a second.
Second.
Wait, who made it? Who made the,
Pete.
okay. And who made the second?
Yeah, I did. I seconded. Now we can have a conversation about it. Go ahead, Tim.
Discussion.
So the money actually comes from the town budget, so it's not from one of our conservation funds. It's already somewhat allocated. It just needs to be approved to move forward, so. And I think we were, 20 years last year, we got the plaque,
You got the plaque.
Yes.
which is downstairs in community development, so.
You also send us these little magazines
Yes.
every quarter, I guess?
Yeah.
Every season, you get one every season.
Yeah, they're the people at Spiniff, for short, are very, very knowledgeable as well. So if you're having an issue with, a forest area, have a question about logging, they're super knowledgeable as well. So they're great for us. Any other discussion?
I'm pretty sure they're on Facebook too. I'm pretty sure I follow them on
Yep.
Facebook. I was gonna say, people at home could follow them on Facebook.
All those in favor? That's everybody. But let me count. 800.
I think we only go 7-0.
Seven.
700.
Seven
Okay.
voting members.
So Cindy being gone. Okay. Still, yeah. Okay. Great. All right, Tim, are you ready for us?
I am.
Hey,
Right.
do we need to make a motion now to take this from being tabled?
No,
Okay.
we had it tabled last meeting because you weren't here. But now we're here to discuss. We just have to change our pre-written notes.
Pre-written notes, okay. Change the date on them. So what I wanted to do was take a few minutes and and talk about the way that the MCC had decided back in 2013 to review parcels for acquisition, donation, along that line. And what we did is we created this tool or guide we call the parcel assessment tool. So I wanted to review it first and then show you a bunch of backup information, so that way as you see the backup information, it will make sense when you look at the tool, and we can go back to the tool if you'd like. We can certainly address whether or not we want to make changes to it. Since it was done and approved in 13, that's, we're coming up on 7 years since it was done, so there's quite a number of you that are new to this, or new to the commission, and therefore maybe you want to look at it another way. So, okay, interesting. Thank you. I'm going to grant you access. My computer is very careful for me, I guess. Now I'll have to jump out of this and go to yeah. I want to just go this way. So very simple. I mean, this is it. It's all in a nutshell. Basically, we wanted to have a consistent way of evaluating properties. So the first question that we should be asking ourselves is the parcel supportive of all elements of the RSA, and I'll touch on that in a moment, on land use change, work, recreation, ecosystem, and conservation. I'll bring that up in a moment and show it to you. Is the parcel part of an identified CFA, which stands for Conservation Focus Area, and that really comes out of the biodiversity plan that was done in 2010. Also discussed a little bit in the master plan. Does purchasing the parcel help increase contiguous acreage for an existing properties in the CFA? So does it grow a CFA even larger? Grow our ownership of acreage in a CFA larger is probably the better way to phrase that. So also, is the parcel in an area under high development pressure? So we could have a parcel that's in a CFA, but maybe it's not under high development potential. I think we've looked at some parcels like that in the past. I can bring up some examples if we want to get into that. So, and then if the parcel is not acquired and left for development, could it affect the acquisition efforts on other parcels that would increase contiguous acreage? So sometimes, you want to pick up a parcel because it's your access to other parcels. And if you choose not to pick up a parcel, but you want other parcels that are also in that CFA, you may not be able to get to them the way you'd want to. That's just an example. So, and then lastly, does the parcel increase access opportunities for other properties? So these were some of the questions we thought we would consider every time we looked at a property. Not too terribly difficult, but I just wanted you to be aware of some of the thinking. I'm also wanted to kind of talk about this today in a public meeting because we have been lately seeing requests from members of the public to see if we had interest in their parcels. And I want them to know how we evaluate parcels, that we do have a method for it, and that they shouldn't be discouraged if we say, we really don't have an interest in your parcel. It's probably because it doesn't align with one or more of these kinds of questions, okay? Some of the terms we've used when we look at parcels are, is it an island all by itself? It might be a nice, great 12-acre parcel, but if it truly isn't part of a CFA and it doesn't give us any better access, and is it not really prone for high development, then we're probably going to pass on. So, or at least that's been our approach in the past, and I think we've been fairly consistent with that. Whether or not we've actually gone through each one of these questions is certainly something that I know a number of us that are familiar with this have been keeping in mind. So, all right. So Then some other things you want to look at if you're thinking about a conservation easement, you know, does it contain structures? Because structures, even if we have an easement, we could be liable for having to deal with the maintenance and stuff like that. You know, is the owner interested in an easement and its benefits, and is there a low potential for development as well? So having a conservation easement is great, but if you're really not worried about it being developed, do we really want to spend our limited dollars on an easement there? So with that said, I want to touch on a few other things. So the next thing I thought I would do is I would bring up, and boy, I wish this would work. I'm going to try it one more time. At least you're not seeing all the pop-ups like I am. And it shouldn't be that hard. All right, so I will go right to the biodiversity plan. By the way, you don't have to remember all this. I'll send the PowerPoint. I'll also update on our minutes taker and sharing. And I'll either send you some of these documents, but this one's a really big document, so I'll probably send you a link to the biodiversity plan.
Oh.
Because we have it posted in a few different places. So I'm going to skip down to page 46. That went a little too far. But really what I was getting at is right here. So in our biodiversity plan, we show 5 different conservation focus areas, and they're described earlier in the plan. If you go back up, you can see what they're all about. So in 2010, with the work of Moosewood Ecological, Jeff Littleton, he helped us put this plan together. He identified the Babusick Brook area, you know, properties along Babusick Brook, which now we own even more than what you can see here. What you can see in the document is there are some shaded areas showing you which lands are protected, and we've grown quite a few more parcels along Babusick Brook since 2010. You've got the Greater Woods Conservation Focus Area, which we talk about a lot, and we've added parcels in here. This does not show our 3 latest acquisitions, which are down here in the southern section of Greater Woods. So, and we filled in that hole there as well. So we've been working in that area. Then the other one is along the Sauhegan River. We have a few parcels there. We have our Ireland property, which is here. You know, we're looking at expanding that with the area around the Windy Hollow development. And we've got Riverside Drive over here. I have to bring it up, but then you've got the Horse Hill area as well. And what's the one that I left? Did I get them all? Oh, the Merrimack River corridor, which is all the way down our eastern border. So, which we have a number of properties as well. So those are the CFAs, and they're described in more detail as what constitutes a CFA. It really gets into a number of factors. It gets into co-occurrence scores that you can read about. It gets into what the state has been looking at as wildlife protection areas, and there's a bunch more information here in this plan to explain that better. Okay, I'll leave that for your own reading. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is in the Town Master Plan, Section 5.2. So bring that up. So if you haven't looked at the Town Master Plan, it was updated in 2013, and it has a number of sections. And Section 5 is all about natural resources and open space. And what I wanted to highlight is this part. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. So. So these were the goals for natural resources, and basically these goals have gone into the town's master plan. The planning board and as well as the planning department should be reviewing these goals along with other goals that are in the plan for when they do development approvals and other things. Some of it is to continue to preserve our significant parcels of land along. And if you look at it all, those are pretty much a number of our CFAs, okay? The different rivers, Horse Hill, Greater Woods, okay? To enhance biodiversity and recreational opportunities. And then also to integrate biodiversity protection into our land use. So that's something that when they've been doing their updates to the subdivision rules, they should be thinking about those updates, okay? Certainly protect the water quality. All Merrimack water comes from the ground unless you're on Pennachuck. So if you have a private well or you have NVB water, it's all coming from the ground, so. But even if you have Pennachuck, it's surface water on Merrimack properties, and we want to protect the areas around that as well, so. And then lastly, the goals is to develop a community-wide environmental awareness. Now, the planning board itself wouldn't be doing that, but they could be supporting those efforts, and of course, we do that as well. But I just wanted to give you some of that background, and it'll make a little bit more sense here in a minute. So, go back to my PowerPoint. The next thing I wanted to talk about is in Part 2, Table 5.2. Which a lot of great information in here, so let me see if I can make this bigger for one, and see if I can scroll down a little bit. So, in the master plan, they actually went, oh, sorry, that's table 5.3, went by it. I'm gonna make this smaller again so I can catch it. Here it is. So what this table says is basically when they did the last master plan update before this, it was 2002, and they created a target list of parcels that we should be looking at conserving. And this is the updated version for the master plan in 2013. And what you're going to see is a number of parcels that we know about. So some of the conservation priority parcels that we should be thinking about for acquisition as a town, this is a town master plan, includes these properties here. This happens to be the Watonic Bowman property, first one on the list. Okay. If you go a little bit further, you'll see that there's some parcels along the Merrimack River. I believe Sklar is in here, right? Mm-hmm. So we helped achieve, just like between 2002 and 2013, the list got smaller. We've been working on things to make the list even smaller. So if people were curious about why we had such interest in Sklar, beyond its ecological and all the other things, it's also been a targeted parcel that the town's been wanting to go after. And when we finally had the right opportunity, Mike was able to help put it together, and we've got it. So there is another parcel here, a small parcel along the Sauhegan River. That's that 1 acre parcel. That's by the high school that we now own. It was owned by one of the Patterson families here in town. And the purchase of this parcel now allows us to have the town center trail that leads from Watson Park all the way over to Wildcat Falls. That was an enabler for that, and that's another reason why we went after that parcel when it became available. So that one though is a little bit different because it's really not part of a CFA if you think about Horse Hill and Greater Woods, but it is part of the Sauhegan River CFA. So it all aligns with everything that we've been going after. Okay, and then I forget where this one is. So I think this is down near Mast Road, but I could be mistaken. So, but those are the couple that jumped out at me, and I didn't research the exact locations of all these. And since we do have the parcel IDs, we can find them very well. So just wanted to show you how some of the different planning activities and things that are going on are happening. It's not the Conservation Commission all by itself doing its own thing. This really is part of a master plan for the town. So, all right. Let me go back to my PowerPoint, make sure I don't miss something. So, gotta remember what that hyperlink is for. remember. So when I sent out the information for this agenda item, I included the parcel assessment tool. I also included this acquisition reference document. This ties in with the so this ties in with the RSA for land use change tax as well. So essentially, when we were putting the parcel assessment tool together, one of the members of the commission who's no longer on the commission helped put this reference items back together to pull it out and kind of bring it to completion. So he spoke about natural resources and why we want to do it to enhance biodiversity, which you've seen in the biodiversity plan. He spoke about if you look at the conservation, the biodiversity plan, you also see wildlife corridors, which is another driver, which is, when you look at the map, how we've been trying to go from the Merrimack River through the southwestern part of town, all the way up the western part of town, so that means Merrimack River, that means then near what we now own as Gilmore Hill Memorial Forest, Horse Hill Nature Preserve, along with the Wasserman Park area and Wasserman Conservation area, and you can jump to Fields Farm, which then can go across the river and skip a few properties, and then you're into Greater Woods, and once you go further west and north in Greater Woods, you're into Amherst, which has its 1,200 acres of conservation land bordering ours, so that creates a nice large wildlife corridor. So this is just some background information that Tom had put together, that he wanted to kind of stress some of the points he brings up, some of the thoughts on the master plan, just so that when we were discussing this back in 2013, this was some of our backup information that we used in order to create the parcel assessment tool. It also brings up the RSA on land use change tax. So, and basically, it's all about providing a healthful, attractive outdoor environment for work and recreation. So, why that's important to us is most of our funds that we have in our conservation funds have come through the fact that the land use change tax exists. And when people actually take open space away for development purposes, we are in turn using those dollars to turn around and acquire more open space. So that way, it's not necessarily a one-for-one, acre-for-acre kind of deal, but at least the land, conservation land isn't completely lost when land does go into development. We're just preserving different land. So that's really kind of what's all behind here and why it brings up the LUCT and the assessment tool. So I know a lot of pieces kind of coming fast. I just want to throw that out here and then we can discuss it or bring up questions or whatever else. So I think I've got just a little bit more that I want to bring up. So, and then the last thing, which is something that we're working on right now with GZA, and we have a draft for. I don't know, Gage, do we have the final yet?
I do not. I have not gotten an
Okay.
answer back yet, so.
So this is something that we may want to in turn add into our assessment tool once it's complete, but if you all recall back in 2018, we contracted with GZA to create, I think it was 18 or maybe it was 19. Maybe it was last year, yeah, it was last year because it was right after fund season and we knew we couldn't make it, so. Where do I have it in here? Yeah, right here. So this is going to be certainly an eye chart. We've all seen it, but basically what we asked GZA to do was to assess all the properties in town, looking for properties that would be ARM fund potentials, right? So which kind of aligns with wanting to conserve properties. What's interesting though is if you look at the colors, and it's hard to see on our screen, but you'll see it is the colors that are bluest are the ones that are the most high value. And what is that? That's our Greater Woods CFA. The parcels around here is, that's the Horse Hill CFA, okay? You can't quite make out the river in here, but there is some of them, if you follow this cursor, my cursor going along, that kind of follows along the Sauhegan River. There's parcels here along the Merrimack River we should be thinking about if we don't actually own them as well. So the work that GZA is doing for us about lands that are suitable for maybe going after grant or with the ARM funds all aligns with our CFAs and our biodiversity work that we started 10 years ago. So it kind of all comes together. You know, we may at one point when this plan is complete, you know, include this also as one of our assessments. So we may want to go back to this and have one more question. Is this parcel one of the highest ranked parcels in our, whatever we call this thing from GSA? And I'm thinking that's probably an addition we want to make, okay? Odds are if it's there, it's covered by one of the others, but we may have one that's not, right? She may have, you know, with all the, you know, with the model that she's created here, because it really is a model. It's based on a bunch of different different items that go into creating that, like similar when she made the beaver model for us. She may have you know, come up with a parcel that isn't in a CFA but is of high value and potential. So, because there's probably a few of those out there. So, kind of wrap all this up through a whole bunch of information. I can send you all links or copies of all this stuff. But I just wanted you to be aware, and I wanted the public to be aware that when we're looking at parcels, we do have a method to our madness, and we do have a reason for why we're doing it. We're not doing it as the MCC all by itself in a vacuum. This is really part of the town master plan that's been part of the master plan going back 20 years ago in 2002, then 2013, and I suspect when the 2020s plan activities get going, there'll be a whole section on natural resources and open space as well. So it is a concerted effort by a number of people, people even before us sitting here in the commission thinking we should be doing stuff. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Great. I think maybe the next thing we should do in a future meeting is get down to the 8 properties that are on that short list and see if any of them align with the GZA work.
Yeah.
And, you know, start working on a grant.
Yeah, I would agree. The next ARM fund season is in March, which is coming up very quickly. You know, may want to pick the February meeting to spend a few minutes, and I can do some homework before the meeting, and we can go from there. So,
Do we get a projected amount that we believe we'll get every year from the land use change tax?
No.
We know, we have a chart, or I think Kyle's got it, I'm not sure who's got it, someone's got a chart of what's left in town that's under LUCT. So that's the only thing we have as a forecast is at some point in time.
Smaller and smaller every year.
Yeah, at some point in time, these may be sold. And when they are, we have the potential to capture some of that revenue.
Now, I guess I'm kind of curious what the last couple of years the Conservation Commission has received through the...
So Paul McKelly would have that. I'd have to look at what went into Fund 53 over the last year. Next time we do a budget look, but I gotta believe it's in the low tens of thousands.
Okay. And I'll ask Paul too. I didn't know if you guys
Yeah,
know.
no, I don't know. I don't know.
It's dependent on how much how people sell that property.
Right. If they choose not to sell, then we get none. So, the other thing that's in here that you should be aware of is the last action of the town council on this is they've capped us at $1 million. So if there was a very large parcel that took our 780,000 that we have now and put us at $1 million, that would be it anyways. Okay. So, of course, it's a vote of the town council. You know, if we had something on our mind that we really wanted to do, we could always go back and ask for a change.
So what happened there, right, was we spent a few $100,000 buying land, and then we had $1 million, we were maxed out, we spent a few $100,000, we bought some land, then we became a little bit more squeamish probably because, you know, we didn't have what we had before. So, I mean, if we didn't have that $1 million limit, we'd have a little more flexibility, I think.
Yeah, that and we knew when we knew that the mall property was the one that put us up over $1 million, but there's not another big mall property current use activity that's going to happen. So
Now, do we foresee this new development down at the entrance to the outlet malls? Is that gonna produce
No.
something?
No.
It's part of the original.
It's
No.
already,
Yeah,
it's already outside of ACP,
yeah, yeah.
unfortunately.
But Paul does, or he had, and I could find it in my
I'll ask him to.
somewhere, but he had a whole list of all the potential properties that could happen. And then you could review them, knowing the families and everything else, to see if there's maybe something, so.
The sad part was, and I remember looking at it in 2013, is, the sad part is, all of them together were less than what the mall was, you know,
Yeah.
that tax was. So it's smaller and smaller every time something comes.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure, but the 2 or 4 parcels that are along not industrial, but Continental Boulevard that just went for development.
Yeah.
I think those were in,
Probably.
so I think that will come into our, or 50% of that will come into our budget
Wait.
this year.
I misspoke. The way it's set up is, as long as we're under $1 million, 50% of the land use change dollars go into our fund. The other 50% go in the general fund for the town. So,
Are you talking about the ones that they're doing from Tinker Road up towards 101A that they're building houses on?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that was all part of, I don't know if you remember the 1722 farmhouse on Tinker Road and the barn that just was dismantled and taken off. That was part of that property.
Right, but I think that part of it was,
was
In-
in county use.
yeah, exactly.
Were the other two? Because there were 2 other parcels that were turned into houses on Tinker Road.
I'm not sure about those, but I think that one was, because we were looking at it when the pipeline was going through.
Yeah.
I don't think so, because it's a minimum of 10 acres.
Okay, all right,
So,
okay. Yeah, I think there were 15 acres up on Continental. So,
So good news, bad news there.
mm.
All right, so we'll add that back into the next agenda, and between now and then, I think we could take a look at what those, well, we're probably down to 6 now, because we did some good work on 2 or 3 of them.
yeah.
Great. Thanks, Tim. All right, back into old business, and first thing in old business is the vote for the seedling giveaway. The check to the nursery seedlings. We had voted for $450, but we made an adjustment to the mixes, and the final bill came in at $460. So we underestimated, but a motion might solve
So
that
moved.
problem.
All right, I'm going to make the motion because I already see a typo in here.
Too late.
What? Wait, did you make the motion?
Do it.
So moved, make it easy.
You can second it and
Okay,
make your
but-
adjustment.
Okay, but the adjustment, I'll second it. So, Rossetti.
I love that so moved.
You're on it.
All right.
Save
The-
some time.
It's the May 9th seedling giveaway, not the May 3rd. So the date is May 9th. So it's not to exceed 460? Is that the right amount?
Yes.
Okay, so $460.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
700.
Did Sharon go ahead and place the order anyways?
Believe so, but I don't know.
Okay. Just so you know, because she contacted us and I said, I will gladly donate the $10, place the order, get it ordered, and when we vote, if I have to come down there and give you $10, I will. If I don't have to, I won't.
You want me to ask her?
Yeah, so it's whatever, I'm hopefully that order was placed. Okay.
I'm gonna ask, when did she place the order? Yeah, we might be having a lot of button bushes again this year.
So I was able to sign that, the duck boxes and spinnif.
Hey,
Okay, so the next item is subcommittee updates.
what happened to Fields Farm Canoe Launch?
Oh, sorry,
That's okay,
you're absolutely right.
thank you.
Fields Farm Canoe Launch. Pete?
I just kind of put it out there. Most recently, we're reviewing DPW's budget, and the canoe launch, they're gonna invest $50,000 into the canoe launch at Severance Bridge Road, on top of money that's already been done. And my concern was, when at the meeting, was, are we continually gonna have to throw money at this site because of erosion and the water and so forth? The director, DPW Director Kyle Fox, assured me that a lot of it they're going to address, but he also brought up the field farm, which I was unaware of, that they were looking at one point, and Tim updated me, kind of brought me up to speed with his email regarding what it would entail. So money's in the budget. And it looks like they still want to go forward with it, but there was discussion of, hey, maybe we need to reopen this discussion on what it would take at Fields Farm. I don't know. I'm obviously jumping in at this stage. A lot of the senior members of this commission have already visited this, and I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing in the eyes of the commission to do something like that or consider it in the future.
I think Tim's email pretty much summed it up. I mean, we were kind of like, we don't see it at this time, you know,
Yeah, I mean, there's some development challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously getting to the water from, through the Fields Farm parcel, and one, getting there, but two, now parking to get there. So that parcel has some restrictions on it for motorized vehicles, and we talked to, was it Paul? Didn't get a kind of a ruling from Paul, not a ruling, but a legal opinion, so to speak, of, as long as they're not using vehicles to, drive around the parcel for recreation, it's considered passive to go park your car there and walk.
Yeah, it sounds to me geographically like it doesn't sound as good as from your email, as good an area as it sounded like at the meeting I was talking with the DPW director.
It's a walk.
It's a walk.
Yeah.
If you're shouldering a canoe,
It's about 800 feet.
So,
yeah.
but it was there, it came up, I wanted to throw it out there and talk to everybody about it, because I wasn't aware, and I'm sure some of the newer members of the commission weren't aware as well, and,
That, and we have yet to explore what DES will impose for rules, because that's a protected river.
Yeah, yeah.
And we will be impacting the bank of the river in some form, so.
Yeah, so and it sounds like Don Tomalo from the DPW, Kyle said they've got a nice idea for the Severance Bridge site to help it out. So along with reinforcing the embankment and everything. So I'll be curious to see. But it was just my concern if we had a better site. And when he mentioned that, I thought I'd bring it up here.
Yeah,
So.
no, it's a good question. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think in the end, there's a lot of homework that still needs to happen. So so Don came to us and said, we really need to have an answer one way or the other, so they could plan the capital reserve dollars and do something. And we told her at that meeting that we knew we weren't ready to go forward at that time, which defaulted the answer to keep going with Severance Bridge. Yeah,
Okay.
so.
No, and I'm just sitting here thinking as we're talking about Windy Hollow, that piece of land. I don't know what the access is there, and if we can, if the neighborhood wants something like that in it.
Yeah.
So.
That's all pretty steep.
Where's Windy Hollow? Where's that?
So about Tomasian Farm off of
Over by
Yeah,
the-
so I forwarded you the plan that was done for us, that Meridian did. You can actually see the common land around the Windy Hollow on that plan. So the thing is there's only an easement for maintenance of the catch basin for the drainage system. That's all the town has, so.
Okay.
Besides that, it's at the road, at Amherst Roads, which is the same issue we have in Fields Farm, so. But we have a lot of steepness along that riverbank on that side of the river, which makes the selection point difficult, so.
Yeah, on one end, it's a long distance,
Yeah.
and on the other end, it's very steep.
Yeah.
Very steep for,
Rock cliff diving.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, it's 30 to 40 feet off the water, and it's very, it's very vertical, it's 70
You-
degrees.
You can throw the canoe in.
That's right, yeah. So you have your buddy downstream and you jump.
There's rapids.
And it's rapids, because
Yeah.
you'll bend a canoe right around those stones.
So, yeah. But we should continue, and like I suggested, when we have a subcommittee together, maybe we should look at it again.
Just food for thought.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. No, it's good to when you, that's why we have an ex officio on the commission, because when you hear that, you go, hey, wait a minute, my subcommittee or my committee, so, yeah, it's good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. We did receive some correspondence, and this is again another annual item. Beaver Solutions. We've been working with them for a number of years now, and they've installed a couple of pipes, and they require ongoing maintenance. So we have been invoiced, and this year's annual maintenance plan is slightly less than last year's. The invoice is for $1,020. I'm sorry?
Can I just see it for a moment?
Now, the town has some of these also, right, that they get billed for?
They do, yes. And this is just our piece of the contract, just the Conservation
Right.
Commission's piece. So, the one that people will see most often, I would guess, is on Natticook,
Cook Road, yeah.
right where Greens Pond Road comes out. Straight across, there's that big device, which used to require a lot of maintenance by DPW. You'd see the DPW truck down there, and they'd be hauling stuff out. Now, with the type of pipe that's in there, the beavers aren't as agitated by it, so they leave it alone for the most part. They initially put some stuff on the top, which they left. And they said that was by design, and it just works now. It does a good job of, if you go downstream, it crosses a number of trails in the Greens Pond, in the Wasserman parcel, and prior to their pipe going in, the flow would either be 0 or 100. There was no middle ground, but now it's just like a 20% flow, let's say, at all times. So it does a really good job of leveling the flow. Even on a heavy rain day, it's not like it used to be, where it was washing out all the bridges and.
Yeah, and we're not flooding Natticook Road or Greens Pond Road either.
Right.
Because when it would back up, it would back up all across the road.
Has there been any more?
Mayflower?
Huh?
And Mayflower?
Yeah.
Yeah, so very similar to what Matt just said, same situation in Mayflower.
It's been good.
The problem that the biggest concern we had, the biggest problem we had complaint-wise, was the variations of the height. Because they build a dam, DPW would go down there and destroy the dam, so the water, we'd have a 6 or 8 foot graduation change. So now you have this smelly, wet, stinky side of the road, the dogs be down there, it was a mess. and now it's down to staying within a few inches of itself all the time. You're green right down to the water line. The woman that was having the biggest problem now on her property is not having that big of a problem on the property anymore, so it's been quite successful. Quite successful.
Good.
Good. How are we doing at Horse Hill? Remember when we were doing the Winter Carnival, I brought the pictures that were taken at Horse Hill with all of the beaver activity.
We don't have anything.
So they've just eaten everything, so.
Yeah, the along the trail?
Yeah.
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 Near the Watson bench.
Yeah. Everything's copacetic now?
They're doing their beaver things?
Yeah, I don't think there has been a high like there was
Okay.
previously, and the low snow this year is probably going to help come spring,
Yeah.
unless we get a big storm. But yeah, it's pretty good over there too.
Okay. I'm still gonna bring that picture because it's cool.
Yeah, it is a cool picture.
All right. So shall I make a motion?
Please.
Okay. I will make a motion for the amount not to exceed $1,020. Our annual Merrimack Conservation Commission part of the contract for Beaver Solutions from Fund 53.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Does everyone know what we're talking about? Because I know, Eric, you're fairly new.
Maybe.
So in a number of places in town, we had issues with beaver controlling water flow, and when they were damming, it was creating, water backing up into different places. We talked about Adequate Road. We've talked about Mayflower Drive, which is in the middle of town neighborhood, Woosick Lake Road, and the pond that's there. But we also put them in Mitchell Woods, right? So, and we put one down in South Merrimack. What's the name of that?
Mass Road.
Yeah,
That's
on
the
Mass Road,
the
right.
town's got the one down Mass Road.
Yeah.
They've got the one that's up in.
Mass Road, which is near the wastewater treatment plant, and then we have the one towards the Home Depot side of Merrimack. What is the name of that street? I'm sorry.
Have you ever noticed when you go down Natticook Road, right by Greens Pond, you got the big open view of White Pine Swamp?
Mm-hmm.
You see this mesh cover sticking up out of the water right near the shore. That's what they're referring to.
Okay.
So it's called a beaver deceiver, and what it's designed to do is to make sure that water always flows through a dam. And depending on where you set the outlet pipe, it will determine the depth of the pond or stream or whatever it is you're trying to control depth-wise. So basically, it all works hydraulically. Water goes in and pushes out and keeps on going. Beavers when the beavers hear running water, their instinct is to block it up, thinking that all the water is going to leave their dam. But the way this is done is it deceives them, and they don't really know where the water is leaving. They get used to the level, and they build their houses around that level as opposed to creating a new level. So that way water always flows, but the ponds, rivers, or lakes remain at a constant height. And when they stay at a constant height, the neighbors that have their backyards don't worry about their exercise areas getting washed out or septic systems getting flooded and all that sort of stuff, because now the water level is fairly consistent. But in order to have these devices work, once a year we pay for maintenance on them. The company comes in, they check the pipes for deterioration, they are warranted, they'll make repairs. What's that? Twice a year, okay, sorry. And they'll clean out areas that may need to be cleaned or maintained, and all of that. So far we've had pretty good luck with it, so.
Is this related to the beaver management policy document that's on the conservation website?
Well, yeah.
Tangentially.
It was done in conjunction with,
Yeah, there was a concern that the other way to manage beaver was to remove them. This allows the beavers to live and the neighbors to have a respectable level to the water area too, so we can live in harmony.
We decided we didn't have a beaver problem, we had a water problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we could maintain the water level, the beaver kids and their families will regulate their own size.
Gage did a tremendous amount of work on
Yes.
the beaver stuff.
Yeah.
Eric, we had a number of meetings where members of the public were here just to discuss the problems that the beavers were causing at their homes. And Gage had to let them know that the beavers weren't the problems, it was the water level that was the problem.
Although Gage did have many angry beavers slapping their tail at him.
Yeah. So I think if you want to see one, the best place to see one
Mayflower.
is you can
Easy
stand almost right on top of it and look and see what's happening.
It's at the end of Mayflower Drive. There are houses on both sides, but you can park your car at the dead end, and then take a quick walk, and you can see how it's controlling that large pond. So, it's actually 2 there, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And Mitchell Woods is the last of the 4 that are on our
Right,
properties.
so the town did the one on, no, the.
Handsome.
The street that, Handsome, yeah. The town did that one?
Yes.
Okay.
And didn't other towns inquire about the?
Yeah, we've had a number of, I still get phone calls.
Yeah, NHA, the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, we did a training session on it. We had our folks from GCA come and demonstrate and talk about it, and people from other towns came to take a look. It's now become popular in Milford and Amherst as well, I think.
Milford has an enormous pipe.
Yeah.
They have a rail trail that runs from Milford to Brookline, and a section of it is built up through a wetland, and there was a culvert. Well, that culvert kept getting blocked up, so much so that it washed out the rail trail at one point. So they put in a giant pipe, reinstalled the culvert, and and they used the beaver solution. So, but that one is 10 times bigger than any one we have in town. It's huge. Yeah, so interesting. Great, okay, that item is done, thank you. Now we're into, go ahead.
Anything more behind your house? Nothing.
Been quiet, they moved downstream.
That's an interesting location. That's something you should go look at sometime, because there's an old bridge, basically, right? You walk in the woods, and you walk through the woods, and all of a sudden there's a stop sign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've
that
come
for the
across
beavers?
that.
Field trip.
I know where that
Field trip
is.
to your
Okay.
house.
Did the stop sign work for the beavers or what?
No, but the old bridge
Yeah,
buttresses worked.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
They raised it 7, 8 feet.
Wow.
All right.
Sorry, go on.
Subcommittee updates?
Okay, I'll do Wildcat Falls first. We had a very, very brief meeting on January 7th. It was literally 9 minutes because we got locked out of downstairs. So we spent most of our time trying to find a place to meet. And then by the time we met, we said, we're not going to be able to have the January 10th snowshoe walk because there's no snow. The one thing that we all decided is we need maps. So how do I get maps?
I didn't send that to you, did I?
Hmm?
I didn't send that to you. I meant to send that to you. I'm sorry. I'll send it.
Can I just call them?
Yeah, I have the quote. I'll send it.
Oh, he gave you a quote.
Yeah, I mean, it's yes.
Okay.
We gotta do that, and we gotta do the QR code thing first.
So is that something we should
Yeah.
table
Um,
for the next meeting, or can we?
yeah, we can talk about next meeting. It may, if he can fit it, he has a new method of making signs, and it's on, he bought a new machine, it's much bigger, so he has extra space now. He says if I can fit it on tail end of the job, I'll just print it, so.
But I need,
Yes,
but
yes.
can we get them in time for the winter carnival?
I
If we
don't know.
table it until the next meeting?
I will find out.
All right, so we're not gonna get them for free anymore,
I don't know.
okay?
The maps, I got the quote for making maps like this,
Like that,
Okay.
okay,
not the other.
Not the
ones. Yeah,
kiosk.
not the kiosk maps.
all right.
So I will include you on that email, how's that?
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, that's all I have.
Greater Woods, we have a meeting tomorrow night in this room at 6:30. You're welcome to join us.
Horse Hill has a meeting next Monday night. This room, 6:30. If somebody could help me with that date, I don't have it off the top of my head. Next Monday. I turn
Steve's
my phone
on
off
it.
when I come here.
Next Monday is the 3rd.
That's the next meeting for Horse Hill Subcommittee.
And that's at 6:30 here.
6:30 right here. Yep,
I'll be there. You,
I will not be.
okay. Anybody else like to join me? They have a very lively agenda.
For
What's the
Horse Hill.
date? The 3rd?
The 3rd.
I guess I'm curious, what does a lively agenda mean?
Yeah.
Now, I'm kinda hooked up with council meetings recently.
There's a few agenda items that I think it'll be a long meeting. So, yeah. All right.
When's our next meeting? On the 10th?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I have.
Yes, that's what the calendar has as well.
Thank you.
All right, the minutes from January 6th.
Okay, I will make a motion. Wait a minute. Gina. To approve the Merrimack Conservation Commission meetings dated January 6, 2020, with changes as follows.
Second.
All right. Mike, you want to go ahead?
I only found the same thing. It's a missing word on page 6, line 31. Following maple leaf, it's actually maple leaf viburnum. I believe that was included in that package for the for the seedlings. So viburnum, VIBURNUM.
Okay. And then I had one change also on page 6, line 38. The date of the seedling giveaway is actually May 9th, not May 3rd. And I went to the recording because it says I made the motion. So I went to the recording and I had no idea what the date was, and I asked and you said that it was, yeah, no, you said it was the right one, but it was, I didn't say May 3rd, I said it was the Saturday before Mother's Day. And then we had a discussion about what Saturday was before Mother's Day, and we came up with the 9th. You said Mother's Day was the 10th,
Yes.
so anyway, so yes, so the date should be May 9th, because the question was if I had said May 3rd, then the minutes would have been right. I just would have been wrong. And that's all I have.
Anybody else find anything? Okay. All those in favor? 700.
Abstain.
Oh, you're gonna abstain? Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't present.
All right.
Well, you don't have to-
601.
I watched it.
I know, it is, but just to keep the
Yeah.
note takers on there.
All right. No public, so no public comment. Commissioner comments? Dee?
The budget for the Conservation Commission was heard last Wednesday. No questions asked. It looks like it was pretty much a same budget as last year. I didn't see anything that really jumped out at me, increases. And obviously, no questions were asked about it. One thing that did come up in the DPW presentation, and I figure I'd put it out here now because it may crop up during the year, is that, I don't know if you all recall that at one point they had put some money aside for a boat ramp down at the waste treatment plant. I asked about that because we were on boat launches, and they've abandoned that because it's not feasible. So the DPW director brought up that they are probably going to use that money for the boat ramp at Sklar Park. So they're just an FYI, because that obviously is gonna impact the park and see how things go forward with it, so. Just letting everybody know.
On the town part of Sklar or on the MC,
Town.
okay,
The boat ramp itself.
okay.
I mean, if they could do a ramp similar to the one that they did on Babusick, and sorry, Natticook, I mean, that would just be, because we were down there for a work day when a truck got stuck in that boat ramp and had to get towed out of the existing boat ramp, because go down there in the morning and it's hard as a rock down there, and then, you know, the sun hits the bank and it turns into quicksand, because it's just that, you know, that floodplain type silt.
And, you know, if you wanna shoot Kyle Fox an email saying, Kyle, you know, you can say I brought it up at the meeting, if you see it moving forward this year, can you keep us in the loop? So,
I mean, as far as the future of that property goes, I think that's a good thing. You know, if the access in there gets improved, you know,
Yeah.
like the tree gets taken out going down to the bridge and you have to turn in.
Yeah, I think there's some positives, there's definitely some positives.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that kind of is an incremental thing in the vision of that property, probably.
Yeah. That would be nice, because even if we could put in some, you know, guardrails down there so you can't go off.
Yeah.
Like I did, you know?
Sure.
Just lead it back a little bit, because that's exactly what we tried to do with
Yeah.
the posts.
Keep the vehicles where we want them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Great.
Great. Thanks, Pete. Tim?
I don't think I have anything else to add.
Nothing from me.
The other thing I was thinking is, if we could get the historic society or someone to put a historic marker. Who was it that was saying Nashua has no historic markers? And that got me thinking, would it be cool to have a historic marker for the Thornton's Ferry down at Sklar? Would that be cool, or would that be not cool?
I think that would be very cool. And we have a kiosk ready and waiting, something other than the signs that are in it.
Yeah. Do you want me to look into that and see?
That would be great. And Anita Krieger, I think, is the contact for Historical Society.
Yeah,
She was at that,
she was at the
the
walk.
walk, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gina. That's great.
New Hampshire Chronicle just did a piece on Thornton's Ferry, but they shot it from Litchfield.
Oh.
Really?
Maybe they'll do a follow-up once we get the plaque and everything. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, they were across the river, but they talked mostly about the Merrimack side, which was funny. Because maybe they wanted to face it.
Did they feel that they have a good location? The actual,
You know, they didn't talk about the topography. It was mostly about the history of the families that had owned it, leading up to Matthew Thornton's family. And it was about a couple generations before that, primarily, was the story.
Was it Fritz?
Fritz was talking all about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fritz Weatherby. That's right.
well, because, you know, Mike and I, we think we may have actually found the landing when
Yeah.
the water was really low.
When the water was there, I think
So
that was.
I'd like to,
I
you
took
know,
a picture of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
a picture of it, but it's,
Seems like a
Just
good place
rock.
for
it
the
just, it
plaque.
just, it just seemed like a, well, yeah, if it's really, that's what I'm saying, if they really have any kind of real, this is where it was, you know, I'd like to know.
Great.
Matt, I'm sorry, I did forget one thing. If I can coordinate this ride-along down at Sklar, who would like to be a part of that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you talking about Fish and Game? Yeah, I mean, keep me in the loop on those emails for sure, and actually, I think Mark would wanna go down there to Mark Todarski, who lives there and who's been the contractor helping us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely
Okay.
keep the, yeah.
Yeah, and if you three, I think that's the right group.
Okay.
Great. Anything else?
When it was the ponds were actually frozen for a few days, and I could
know.
cross-country ski on the ponds, I checked out a couple of the boxes, the duck boxes, and they both had eggs. One were hatched and one weren't.
Oh.
But now it's all slush again.
Greg, the gentleman that builds the duck boxes, is sending us a packet of information about how to remedy the
Unhatched.
issue with a lot of the unhatched eggs. He said a lot of the times when there's more than 4 and unhatched, it's because 2 hens laid in the same box
Oh, wow.
and they battled
Oh.
and then left the eggs.
Oh, wow. I think there were 4 unhatched, I think, if I remember right.
Was it in one of the, what did you say, that Greg's boxes has a better chance of, the eggs hatching? We don't have any of Greg's boxes yet. though,
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Was
And
it
all of them are in his,
Yeah.
all of them in
I think it
Greater are
was
his.
one.
Greg's,
the
okay.
new ones, yeah.
Okay.
What's the remedy for that?
He's gonna send that to me. I don't know the answer. He left it a mystery. I think he wanted me to buy the boxes.
Good marketing skills.
Yeah, it was. I was like, ooh. But he's an expert, and he said, feel free to reach out after you clean out the boxes this year, and let me know what issues you had. And he's gonna send me bedding for all the boxes.
Nice.
So,
Cool.
yeah,
Well, that was terribly expensive, but.
no, yeah, I'm sick of going to buy those things and using a quarter of it,
Yeah.
and then leaving the rest out in the woods, hoping some creature uses it. Eric.
Yeah, just curious, just thinking of new stuff to do, would anyone be interested in discussing maybe like thinking sort of like a position, or not position, it wouldn't be a position, but, sort of like an internship with the high schools, something like that, where we would, or, sort of do like ecological surveys, but in doing so, teaching high schoolers about, like learning how to do scientific work, put your name on something, just sort of as college resume builder, but also teaching stuff. I'm just coming up with like ideas here, but I want to know like if anyone would be interested in possibly creating a little program like that, if I should, do some research into it, see if it's.
Do they have like environmental science at the high school or something
They do.
like that?
I took the environmental science class in 11th grade, I think. It was really just a class. It wasn't really anything extended. What are we thinking about is like sort of little ecological surveys on the conservation lands, basically acting as an internship, sort of.
Excuse me, thank you.
Any way to interest the youth, I mean, even if it's like
Yeah,
field
I
trips.
would gladly try to do that again. We tried that a lot, particularly with the outdoor classroom at the middle school.
Yeah.
We were trying to get it, see if we could get it from youth and grow up, and we tried with the high school, and it just didn't really get very far, but if you'd like to try again, I would certainly be willing to help you.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it would be cool. I'd love to
I'll
get into that.
I'll look into it.
We don't have a lot of good documentation of what we did the first time, but I'll see if I can have anything.
Well, I've done things like that before, both in college and with different jobs.
Yep.
And really, I was just thinking about what I would have wanted when I was in high school. So that's just what I'm thinking. I'll look into it, see if I can come up with something.
Good idea.
I don't have anything. So,
I don't have anything either.
motion to adjourn.
All those in
8:30.
favor?
8:30.
It was a quick meeting.
8:30.